Guys, today I want to tell you the story about how I've learned the muscle up. My form is still very far from perfect, but still I was able in the last weeks to finally learn how to do one clean rep of muscle up. Now, the muscle up is one of the more advanced elements in calisthenics. The very basic ones are push up, pull up, dip, and squat. And muscle up is, you could say, one level higher in terms of difficulty. And there's a few tricks that I had to figure out before I was able to one clean rep. And today I'm going to tell you what those are. So, very first topic is the strength prerequisites. The muscle up is a movement that requires a lot of strength from you that a beginner generally doesn't have. So, the main two exercises that you're going to be doing to train the pure strength aspect of the muscle up is one, the pull up, and two, the dip. And so I would say you need to be able to perform at least 15 to 20 pull ups. 15 is more than enough, I would say. And in terms of dips, I would say as well, about 15 to 20 dips should be enough for you to perform the muscle up in terms of pure strength, right? So if you're not able to perform these amounts of pull ups and dips, I would not recommend you to try the muscle up because even if you are able to somehow do it, you're going to be used to a very unclean technique, which is going to be hard to get rid of in the future. Instead, I would really recommend to focus on those two exercises, dips and pull ups, and really practice until you've reached those milestones, those strength prerequisites. And it's really not that hard to get to them, right? 15 pull ups, 15 dips, really, it's not that hard. Just a few months of training can get you there. Right. So now I'm going to assume you have the strength prerequisites in place. You're able to do 15 clean pull ups, 15 clean dips. Now, there's still a lot of people that have more than enough strength to perform a muscle up, but that still can do it. And that's because the technique of the muscle up is a bit tricky. In fact, I was this person as well. I've been doing some very unclean and like incorrect muscle ups actually in the s- already 2 years ago, and that was my dream to achieve a very clean rep, and I was able to do that only a few weeks ago. That's how hard it can be to achieve. So the very first thing I would say, uh, you need to the very first problem that people often face is getting rid of the chicken winging, right? Chicken winging is when you put your first arm over the top of the bar and then the second, as opposed to doing it simultaneously, right? Which is required for a clean repetition. And I've struggled with that problem for a while. I've been able to do like 3 or 4 reps with chicken winging, but none of the clean ones. And so I would really say you should attempt you should approach every single attempt with the intention to do a clean rep. You should not, if you're able to do one rep that's incorrect, like don't keep on doing them. It's gonna only You're only gonna get used to the wrong technique. And it's gonna be harder to get rid of it in the future. That was my mistake, right? That was what I was doing when I was younger, when I was first practicing the muscle up. So it's okay to try and fail, right? Failed attempts are completely okay, right? So you pull yourself up, you're not quite able to get on top of the bar. It's all right, man. Just get on the ground, give yourself a few minutes of rest. Then, after a few minutes, repeat the attempt. That's what I was doing, and that's what allowed me to eventually unlock the full movement, which is very satisfying. Now, the second thing that I had to figure out on my own is as a beginner, you need to implement a little bit of the swing. So you need to swing forward a little bit in order to achieve the full movement. Now, there's people who can achieve the muscle up with pure strength, and you can see those very slow muscle ups, where it's just pure strength, no inertia, no momentum at all. But as a beginner, you're not gonna achieve that. It's very hard. And it's completely normal, right? As a beginner, your goal should be to get a clean movement in, and it's okay if you use a little bit of the swing. Eventually, you will need to get rid of that swing. and that's still a goal of mine. I'm not able to do the movement without the swing yet, right? So that's what I'm practicing. But it's going to be way easier after you've gotten a grasp, you've gotten a feeling of the correct movement, even if you're using a bit of the swing. It's just like with normal pull-ups, right? When you just started pull-ups, you couldn't do a completely clean rep, but that didn't stop you from practicing pull-ups to eventually get to that one clean rep. At least that's how it was for me. So implement a bit of a swing, as you've seen in the video of me demonstrating the movement, and that's gonna make life a lot easier for yourself, right? So the third tip is to practice explosive pull-ups, right? It's those pull-ups where the movement is more explosive. You can even let your hands off the bar for a second. That's actually not necessary. Just try to really propel yourself upwards and practice those, because in the muscle up, the whole movement is explosive, right? You need to explode yourself upwards, beyond the limit of a normal pull up. So if you're able to do some of those and you're used to the movement, it's gonna make the muscle up a lot easier. You can also practice high pull ups, right? It's those pull ups where you don't just stop when your throat reaches the bar. You actually go chest to the bar, or even the stomach to the bar, which is a lot harder, but you can practice it. It's a bit of a different movement, but you get used to it. If you have the strength prerequisites in place, uh, just by training a few weeks, you can achieve those. And it will make the muscle up attempts a lot easier. And the fourth, and I think the final tip that I can give you, is to give yourself some rest. Now, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but what I've done that was suboptimal is I was attempting muscle up every single day because I was just so excited and hyped up, and I still am. And I was trying every single day, as first thing, every single session, and then that way you just don't have enough rest. How I would ideally train my muscle ups, and how I do train them now: give yourself 2 to 4 days rest between attempts, right? 2 to 3 days. I think three is about ideal. So let's say it's Monday right now. You attempt your muscle ups, right? And you do the attempts until you don't feel strong enough to do any more attempts. And you finish, you carry on with your training. Then you will continue training the muscle up on Thursday, and then on Monday again. So that way you actually have more time to recover, and the next day, after you have like 3 to 4 days of rest, you're gonna feel amazing, and the movement is gonna feel a lot more easy. I promise you, that's what happened with me. And so this way you also will be more inspired to go forward and train more. And the converse is also true, because if you train every single day, then you won't have as much progress on a day-to-day basis, and that might upset you. That might You might lose some of that motivation that you really need to achieve the muscle up, which is quite a difficult movement. And I've kind of had this problem as well, but I've trained every single day regardless. But I found when I do those 3 to 4 days of rest, I really can feel the progress as compared to the very last session where I was training my muscle ups. And I would really recommend that's really the more time effective approach. And yeah, that was my final tip, right? So I think there was 4 or 5 tips. If you can implement every one of those, and of course, prior to that, the strength prerequisites, there's really going to be no problem for you to achieve the muscle up. It's a really cool movement. I really like it. And yeah, follow the tips and try it out.